The fork scraped against my mother's plate, loud enough to make everyone freeze. I sat at the dining table, surrounded by my parents, my brother Tyler, and his perfect wife Amanda. The pot roast steamed between us, but my stomach had turned to stone. "So, Emily," Mom asked, her voice sharp as broken glass. "How's work going?" My throat tightened. I'd been dreading this question all evening. The termination letter was still folded in my car's glove box, 3 days old and burning a hole through my confidence. "Actually, I lost my job last week," I admitted quietly. The silence that followed felt like drowning. Tyler glanced at Amanda. Dad stared at his plate. Mom set down her fork with deliberate slowness. "So you're still living off unemployment?" Her words cut through the air. "You've become a burden, Emily." My cheeks burned. The word burden echoed in my skull. Everyone looked away from me, suddenly fascinated by their food. My hand trembled as I reached for my purse under the table, fingers brushing against something they didn't know about yet, a crisp new business card with embossed lettering. I swallowed the humiliation like bitter medicine and told myself something I'd repeat every day after: I would never let her speak to me that way again. I drove home in complete silence. No radio. No podcast. Just the hum of tires on pavement and the echo of Mom's voice calling me a burden. The streetlights blurred past my windows as tears finally came. I pulled into a gas station parking lot and let myself break down, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. This wasn't new. Mom had always treated me differently than Tyler. When he got average grades, she celebrated his effort. When I got straight A's, she asked why I hadn't joined more clubs. When his first startup failed, she called it a learning experience. When I struggled to find work after college, she called it a character flaw. Every achievement I'd earned felt invisible to her. Every stumble felt like proof I wasn't enough. I grabbed a napkin from the glove box and wiped my eyes. That's when I saw it, the unopened email notification on my phone, sent 4 hours ago. Subject line: "Welcome to the team, executive offer." My heart stopped. I stared at those words, afraid to open it, afraid it might disappear if I blinked. The email sat there, glowing in the darkness of my car, holding a secret that could change everything. 3 days earlier, I'd walked into the downtown office building with my resume printed on expensive paper and my best interview suit pressed to perfection. The company was called Apex Strategic Solutions, a logistics startup that had exploded in growth over the past 2 years. They needed a senior operations manager, someone who could handle chaos and build systems from nothing. I'd met the founder, Marcus Webb, through volunteer work at the community center. He remembered me as the woman who'd reorganized their entire donation system in 2 weekends. When he mentioned his company was hiring, I'd laughed it off. But he insisted I apply. The interview lasted 3 hours. They threw impossible scenarios at me: supply chain disasters, personnel conflicts, budget emergencies. I answered every question, drawing from years of experience they didn't know I had. Marcus leaned back in his chair at the end, studying me with intense brown eyes. "We need someone strong enough to rebuild from scratch. Someone who won't break under pressure." I'd left that office building thinking I'd blown it, that I'd aimed too high. Now, sitting in this parking lot with tears drying on my face, I finally opened that email. I accepted the job offer at midnight, sitting cross-legged on my apartment floor with my laptop glowing in the darkness. The salary was almost double what I'd made before. The title was impressive: Senior Director of Operations. The opportunity felt impossible, like I'd stumbled through the wrong door into someone else's life. But I made a decision right then: I wouldn't tell my family. Not yet. Mom would find some way to diminish it. She'd say I got lucky, or that Marcus only hired me out of pity. Tyler would offer condescending advice about corporate culture. Dad would nod along with whatever Mom said, like he always did. No. This victory was mine to protect. I would work in silence, prove myself first, and only reveal my success when I'd earned the peace that came with it. I started the following Monday. The office buzzed with energy, young, hungry people building something that mattered. I threw myself into 16-hour days, learning systems, fixing problems, rediscovering the confidence that had been slowly beaten out of me at family dinners. 3 weeks in, my assistant knocked on my office door. "Emily? We just landed the Turner Industries account. It's huge." I pulled up the contract file. My blood went cold when I saw the client name, Tyler Turner, operations lead. Mom called on a Tuesday afternoon while I was reviewing logistics reports. I almost didn't answer, but guilt won out. "Emily. Wonderful news." Her voice practically sang through the phone. "Tyler just got promoted to senior operations lead at Turner Industries. Isn't that wonderful?" I forced enthusiasm into my voice. "That's great, Mom. Tell him I said congratulations. He's worked so hard for this," she continued, not hearing the edge in my tone. "His boss says he's one of the brightest managers they've ever had. Amanda is so proud." I stared at my computer screen, at my own director-level title in the company directory, and said nothing. Mom's voice shifted, getting that familiar pitying tone. "If only you had his drive, Emily. Tyler has always known how to apply himself." My jaw clenched. I'd been up until 2 in the morning solving a crisis that saved the company $50,000. I'd redesigned 3 departments in as many weeks. But none of that existed in her world. "I should go, Mom. Talk soon." I hung up and returned to my work. Then I opened the next file in my queue, Turner Industries contract, review and approval required. I stared at that file for a full minute, my cursor hovering over the open button. Apex Strategic Solutions had won the bid to handle all logistics coordination for Turner Industries' upcoming expansion into 3 new states. It was their biggest contract of the year, maybe their biggest ever. And I'd just been assigned as the lead compliance officer. Marcus appeared in my doorway, grinning. "Saw you got the Turner account. Perfect timing, right? We need someone detail-oriented on this. They've got a reputation for cutting corners, and we can't afford any violations." "I'll handle it," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I know you will." He paused, studying me. "You okay? You look pale." "Fine. Just a lot of coffee today." He laughed. "This job requires it." "Oh, and heads up, their ops lead is apparently a real stickler for looking good on paper while his team does sloppy work underneath. Don't let him charm you." After Marcus left, I opened the file. Tyler's name appeared everywhere: project lead, primary contact, compliance officer. The irony was suffocating. My brother, whose success Mom celebrated constantly, was now my professional responsibility. I pulled up the timeline. First compliance checkpoint was in 3 days. The deadline came and went. No submission from Tyler's team. I waited 4 hours past the cutoff, checking my email every 10 minutes. Nothing. I called the number listed on the contact sheet. Voicemail. Protocol was clear. After 6 hours, I had to file the delay report. My hand hovered over the keyboard. This was my brother. My family. The person Mom actually respected. But this was also my job. My career. The second chance I'd worked 16-hour days to earn. I filed the report at 4:47 p.m., documenting the missed deadline and the lack of communication. My finger trembled slightly as I hit send. 20 minutes later, my phone exploded with an incoming call. Tyler's name flashed on the screen. I answered. "This is Emily Turner." "What the hell are you doing?" His voice was pure rage. "You filed a delay report? Do you have any idea how that makes me look? You missed the deadline. By a few hours. We've been slammed here. I was going to submit it tonight. The contract specifies hard deadlines. I don't make the rules. You're sabotaging me." His voice dropped, venomous. "You're jealous, and you're being petty. Mom is going to hear about this. The line went dead. Mom called 30 minutes later. I was still shaking from Tyler's call. Emily and Turner. She only used my full name when she was furious. Tyler just told me what you did. You humiliated your brother's company in front of his superiors. Is this because you're bitter about his promotion? I'm doing my job, Mom. Your job? She laughed, sharp and ugly. If you'd kept a job long enough, you'd understand what professional courtesy means. You'd understand loyalty. Something inside me cracked. Loyalty? Tyler missed a deadline. I reported it. That's not personal. Everything is personal when it's family, Emily. Tyler has never treated you the way you just treated him. Tyler has never had to. The words hung there. Mom went silent. Then, I don't know what's happened to you, but this bitterness is ugly. Fix this, or I don't know if I can look at you the same way. She hung up before I could respond. I sat in my office, the city lights beginning to glow outside my window, and felt the familiar ache of never being enough for her. But then my email dinged. Marcus Webb, read your report on Turner Industries. You did exactly the right thing. Great work, Emily. This is why we hired you. I read those words 3 times and felt something shift inside me. 6 weeks passed. I stopped answering Mom's calls as frequently. Tyler stopped calling altogether. I poured myself into work. Every crisis that landed on my desk, I solved. Every system that needed building, I built. Every fire that needed putting out, I extinguished with efficiency that surprised even me. Marcus started including me in executive meetings. My team doubled in size. I was promoted to Director of Operations on a rainy Thursday morning, sitting in Marcus's office while he explained the expanded role. You've saved us 3 times over, he said. The board agrees you've earned this. I drove home that night with the promotion letter on my passenger seat, and I told no one. Not friends, not family, nobody. The victory felt too fragile to share. Then an envelope arrived at my apartment. Heavy cardstock, embossed logo, Regional Business Summit. You are cordially invited to present at this year's leadership conference. Apex Strategic Solutions has been selected as a partner spotlight company. I scanned down to the other presenting companies. Turner Industries was listed right there. My stomach dropped. The conference was in 2 weeks. Tyler would be there. So would Mom, she always attended Tyler's business events. The conference hall buzzed with hundreds of business professionals in expensive suits, carrying leather portfolios and coffee in branded cups. I'd arrived early, checked in at registration, and received my presenter badge, Emily Turner, Director of Operations, Apex Strategic Solutions. I spotted them near the refreshment table, Tyler in his navy suit, looking confident and polished. Mom beside him in her pearls, scanning the room like she owned it. They were laughing with a group of executives, including Marcus Webb. My pulse quickened. Mom hadn't seen me yet. She was mid-conversation, gesturing with her coffee cup, probably telling everyone about Tyler's accomplishments. The conference host stepped to the podium, tapping the microphone. Good morning, everyone. We're thrilled to have such distinguished companies with us today. Let's begin with our partner presentation from Apex Strategic Solutions. Mom glanced toward the stage, mild interest on her face. Please welcome to the stage their lead on the Turner Industries partnership, Director of Operations, Emily Turner. The room fell silent. Then came the gasps. I watched Tyler's face drain of color. Mom's coffee cup stopped halfway to her lips, frozen in shock. I walked to that podium in my gray blazer and heels, every eye in the room following me. I reached the microphone and allowed myself a small, professional smile. Good morning. I'm Emily Turner, Director of Operations at Apex Strategic Solutions. Today I'll walk you through our approach to complex logistics partnerships and the systems we've implemented to ensure compliance and efficiency. My voice didn't shake. My hands didn't tremble. I'd practiced this presentation until I could deliver it in my sleep. I clicked through slides showing graphs, data points, success metrics. Every number represented late nights, solved problems, systems I'd built from nothing. I spoke about challenges we'd overcome, innovations we'd introduced, growth we'd achieved. From the podium, I could see Mom's face. Shock had turned to something else, confusion, maybe. Or disbelief. Tyler sat rigid, his jaw clenched so tight I could see it from across the room. I finished my presentation to enthusiastic applause. Questions came from the audience, intelligent questions about methodology and scalability. I answered each one clearly, confidently. Marcus Webb stood near the back, grinning like a proud parent. As the applause died down and I gathered my materials, I watched Mom stand abruptly. She grabbed her purse and walked toward the exit, her face flushed red. Tyler remained seated, staring at the empty stage where I'd just stood, looking like his entire world had tilted sideways. Mom called that night. I let it ring 4 times before answering. You embarrassed us. No greeting, no preamble. Pure accusation. I gave a presentation at a business conference, Mom. That's not embarrassing. You ambushed your family. You let us find out about your job in front of hundreds of strangers. Tyler said people were whispering, asking him how he felt about his sister being his oversight manager. I sat on my couch, staring at the city lights through my apartment window. I didn't ambush anyone. I just didn't announce every step of my career to you. Because you knew we'd have concerns. No. I cut her off, something I'd never done before. Because every time I achieved something, you found a way to make it smaller. Every time I struggled, you made me feel worthless. I stopped sharing because sharing with you hurt too much. Silence. Then, you think you're better than your own family now? Is that it? You got some fancy title and suddenly we're beneath you? No, Mom. I just stopped letting you make me feel small. More silence. I could hear her breathing, could picture her face, that expression she got when reality didn't match her narrative. Tyler says your company is acquiring his, she finally said, her voice quieter. Is that true? My blood went cold. What? He heard rumors. A buyout offer. I hadn't heard anything about this. I need to go, Mom. I hung up and immediately called Marcus. He answered on the second ring. Was wondering when you'd call, he said. Yeah, we're in talks to acquire Turner Industries. Quiet negotiations. You'll be leading the due diligence. Figured you should know. The due diligence files arrived on my desk 3 days later. Boxes of financial records, compliance reports, contract histories. Everything about Turner Industries, laid bare for examination. I assembled my team and divided the work. I took the compliance section myself. For 2 weeks, we lived in those files. My team found inconsistencies, small ones at first. Dates that didn't align. Expenses that seemed inflated. Nothing major, but enough to raise questions. Then I opened a folder marked Q3 Logistics Billing. My hand stopped moving. I read the document once. Then twice. Then a third time, my heart sinking with each pass. Tyler had falsified invoices. Not huge amounts, just enough to inflate his department's performance numbers. Route completions that never happened. Efficiency metrics that were mathematically impossible. All signed off by him, all dated, all documented. I sat back in my chair, staring at the proof of my brother's fraud. The smart play was obvious: report it, let the acquisition fall through or proceed with full knowledge of the risk, protect my company. But this was Tyler. My brother. Mom's favorite son. If I reported this, his career would implode. He might face legal consequences. Mom would never forgive me. If I didn't report it, I'd be complicit. I'd be protecting fraud. I'd be the person who put family above integrity, the exact thing they'd always accused me of lacking. I closed the folder and walked to Marcus's office. "How bad is it?" Marcus asked after I'd explained what I found. "Bad enough to be criminal. The amounts aren't huge, but the pattern is clear. He's been doing this for at least 18 months. Marcus rubbed his jaw, staring out his office window at the city below. "If we acquire them with this buried in the books, we inherit the liability. The board won't accept that risk." "I know. And this is your brother." "I know that too." He turned to face me. "What do you want to do, Emily?" I thought about Mom calling me a burden. I thought about Tyler's angry phone call, his accusation of jealousy. I thought about every family dinner where my struggles were failures and his were learning experiences. Then I thought about Marcus's email, "You did the right thing. Great work, Emily." "I want to do my job," I said. "I want to submit an accurate report." Marcus studied me for a long moment. "This will have consequences." "Everything has consequences. I'm choosing which ones I can live with." I submitted the report that afternoon. Complete, thorough, damning. I documented every falsified invoice, every impossible metric, every signature that proved Tyler knew exactly what he was doing. The acquisition was paused pending further investigation. Turner Industries was placed under federal audit review. And I went home that night and cried for the family I was losing. Tyler's call came at 6 a.m., waking me from restless sleep. "You destroyed me." His voice cracked with rage and something else, fear. "The board put me on administrative leave. There are federal auditors going through everything. My career is over, and it's your fault." I sat up in bed, phone pressed to my ear. "Tyler, you falsified those invoices." "Not me. They were harmless adjustments. Everyone does it. You could have looked the other way, but no, you had to be perfect, had to prove you're better than everyone." "I didn't prove anything. You did this to yourself." "Mom's right about you," he spat. "You're bitter and jealous, and..." I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From exhaustion. From years of being the problem, the disappointment, the burden. My phone rang again. This time it was Mom's number. I let it go to voicemail. She called 4 more times that morning. I didn't answer. Finally, a text message: "He's being investigated by federal auditors. You've ruined his life. Please help him. Please." I stared at those words. The please struck me. I couldn't remember the last time Mom had said please to me. But I texted back, "I can't interfere with a federal investigation. I'm sorry." 3 days later, Marcus called me into his office again. This time, the company's CFO was there too. "Emily," Marcus said, "we'd like to offer you a promotion. Vice President of Operations." I accepted the promotion, though it felt hollow with my family in ruins. Tyler stopped calling. Mom stopped too, which somehow hurt worse. The silence stretched from days into weeks. I focused on work, building my team, implementing new systems, proving I deserved the VP title. But guilt gnawed at me during quiet moments. Had I been too harsh? Should I have warned Tyler first? Should I have protected family over principle? Then the news broke: Tyler's company was under formal federal investigation. Fraud charges were being considered. The story hit the local business section, complete with Tyler's corporate headshot and details about falsified invoices. Mom called that night. I answered, bracing myself. "He might go to prison." Her voice was small, broken. "My son might go to prison because you couldn't let one mistake slide." It wasn't one mistake, Mom. It was 18 months of deliberate fraud. He's your brother. And I'm a professional with responsibilities. I didn't make him commit fraud. She started crying. "Please. Please help him. You have connections now, you have power. Fix this." The word burden echoed in my memory. I thought about the family dinner, the humiliation, the years of being told I wasn't enough. I won't interfere with a federal investigation, I said quietly. You taught me about responsibility, about integrity, about doing the right thing even when it's hard. I'm finally practicing what you preached. You're heartless. No, Mom. I'm just done cleaning up messes that aren't mine to clean. I hung up and sat in the darkness of my apartment, wondering when doing the right thing started feeling so wrong. 2 weeks later, I received an invitation to speak at the Regional Leadership Gala, a prestigious event that drew executives from across 3 states. The gala was held in a historic hotel ballroom with crystal chandeliers and tables draped in white linen. 500 business leaders filled the space, networking over champagne and tiny, expensive food. I stood backstage, reviewing my note cards. The speech was about resilience, about rebuilding after failure, about the difference between confidence and approval. I'd written and rewritten it a dozen times. 2 minutes, Ms. Turner, the stage manager said. I took a deep breath, smoothed my black dress, and walked toward the stage entrance. The introduction boomed through speakers. Please welcome Emily Turner, Vice President of Operations at Apex Strategic Solutions, speaking tonight on leading through adversity. I stepped into the spotlight. The speech flowed from me like water, stories of setbacks, lessons learned, the importance of staying true to your principles even when the cost is high. I talked about being underestimated, about proving yourself not to others but to yourself. The audience leaned forward, engaged. Some nodded along. Others took notes. I finished to thunderous applause that made my chest tight with emotion I hadn't expected to feel. As I stepped off stage, I saw her. Mom stood at the back of the ballroom, partially hidden behind a column. She wore her good coat, the one she saved for special occasions. Her face was pale, her eyes red. She'd come uninvited. She'd heard me speak. She'd seen everything. Our eyes met across the crowded room. Mom approached slowly as people congratulated me and shook my hand. I watched her navigate through the crowd, looking smaller somehow, older than I remembered. She reached me as the last well-wisher moved away. Emily. Her voice was barely audible over the background noise. You spoke beautifully. Thank you. I didn't know what else to say. We stood in awkward silence. Around us, the gala continued, laughter, conversations, the clink of glasses. I may have been too hard on you, Mom said finally, the words coming out stiff, unpracticed. Over the years. At that dinner. Maybe I didn't see what I should have seen. It wasn't quite an apology. More like an acknowledgement that something had been wrong, even if she couldn't quite name what. I nodded slowly. Maybe. Tyler filed for bankruptcy this morning, she continued, her voice cracking. His lawyer says the investigation will take months. He's lost everything. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to fall back into old patterns. But I stayed quiet. I should go, Mom said, turning away. I just wanted to see. I needed to know if what Tyler said was true. About you. Your success. She walked toward the exit, shoulders slumped, and disappeared into the night. I stood there, champagne glass in hand, surrounded by success, and felt completely empty. 3 months passed. Tyler's bankruptcy became official. The federal investigation continued. Mom stopped trying to contact me altogether. Apex Strategic Solutions kept growing. We landed major accounts, expanded into 2 new regions, and I found myself managing a team of 40 people. The work consumed me, which was fine, I had nothing else to consume me with. Then Marcus called me into his office with an unusual expression on his face. Got a weird situation, he said. HR just received an application for a temp receptionist position. Normally I wouldn't see these, but the system flagged it because of the last name. He turned his computer screen toward me. Application, Patricia Turner. Previous experience, volunteer coordinator, administrative assistant. Reason for seeking employment, need to supplement retirement income after family financial difficulties. My mother had applied to work at my company. Do you want me to reject it? Marcus asked carefully. I stared at that application. Mom needed work. She'd never had a real job before. She'd been a stay-at-home mother, then a volunteer, then lived off Dad's retirement and Tyler's occasional support. Now Tyler had nothing. And apparently, neither did she. Don't reject it, I said. Let the system decide. If she's qualified, hire her. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You sure? I won't help her and I won't hurt her. Fair treatment. That's all. A week later, Mom was hired as a temporary receptionist, scheduled to start the following Monday. I didn't warn her that I worked here. Let her find out the same way I'd found out about her application, through official channels, without family interference. Monday morning, I arrived early. I watched from my office as Mom entered the building wearing a name tag and carrying a lunch bag and a plastic container. She looked nervous, out of place in the modern glass and steel lobby. A supervisor was showing her the phone system, the visitor log procedures, the coffee station setup. Mom nodded along, taking notes in a small spiral notebook. I had a leadership meeting at 9. It was held in the main conference room, the one right next to the reception desk. I gathered my files and walked toward that meeting, my heels clicking on the marble floor. Mom was arranging coffee cups on a tray, her back to me, when I passed. Morning, I said neutrally. She turned. Her face went through a series of expressions, confusion, recognition, shock, horror, in the span of 2 seconds. Emily? She whispered my name like a prayer or a curse, I couldn't tell which. I smiled politely, the way I would at any new employee. Welcome to Apex Strategic. I hope your first day goes well. Then I walked into the conference room, closing the door behind me. Through the glass wall, I could see Mom standing frozen, the coffee tray forgotten in her hands. The meeting lasted 90 minutes. We discussed expansion plans, quarterly goals, personnel changes. I presented 3 times, led 2 discussions, and made decisions that affected hundreds of people. Through it all, I could feel Mom's presence beyond that glass wall. When the meeting ended, I gathered my materials and exited through the main door. Mom was back at the reception desk, answering phones with a practiced professional voice that surprised me. She'd always been good at putting on appearances. Apex Strategic Solutions, how may I help you? She said into the headset. Then she glanced up and saw me approaching. I needed to sign out for an external meeting. I approached the desk, signed the clipboard, and started to leave. Emily. Mom's voice stopped me. I didn't know. I turned back. Know what? That you worked here. That you were. She gestured vaguely upward, toward the executive offices. I didn't know. Does it matter? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. I'm sorry. For the dinner. For everything. I was wrong about you. The apology hung in the air between us, years too late and not quite enough. I didn't respond to Mom's apology right away. Instead, I studied her, this woman who'd shaped so much of my pain and my drive. It's okay, Mom, I finally said. Everyone starts somewhere. You're here now, doing work. That's what matters. Her eyes filled with tears. But respect. Respect goes both ways, I interrupted gently. You'll earn it here the same way I did. Through work, through showing up, through being reliable. I left her there at the reception desk and went to my external meeting. That night, I stayed late at the office. Most of the staff had gone home, but the lights were still on in reception. Mom was there, carefully organizing files, learning the system. She looked up when I passed. You don't have to stay because I'm here. I'm not. I have work to finish. We existed in that space for another hour, her at reception, me in my office, both of us present but separate. When I finally left at 8 p.m., Mom was packing up too. We rode the elevator down together in silence. In the parking garage, she paused. Emily? I stopped, key fob in hand. Thank you. For letting me have this job. I nodded. You're welcome. We drove away in separate directions, and something felt different, not fixed, not healed, but maybe beginning to shift. The next morning, I found an envelope on my desk. Inside was a handwritten note on plain paper. The note was short, written in Mom's careful cursive. Asterisk Emily, I spent 20 years telling you who you weren't. I'm sorry I never took time to see who you were. You deserved better from me. I hope I can learn to be better now. Mom asterisk. I read it 3 times, then folded it carefully and put it in my desk drawer. Over the following weeks, I watched Mom adapt to her new role. She was good at it, organized, friendly with visitors, quick to learn the systems. People liked her, not knowing she was my mother. I didn't tell anyone about our relationship. Neither did she. We maintained professional distance. When we passed in hallways, we nodded politely. When she needed to deliver files to my office, she knocked first and called me Ms. Turner. But something was changing between us. Small things. She started leaving her lunch container next to mine in the break room fridge, with little notes, hope you have a good day or proud of your presentation today. I started bringing her coffee in the mornings, just leaving it at the reception desk without comment. We were learning each other again, from scratch, without the weight of history crushing us. One afternoon, Marcus pulled me into his office. Patricia's temp period ends next week. I want to offer her a permanent position. She's excellent. Then offer it, I said. She's earned it. You had nothing to do with this recommendation, he clarified. Her supervisor requested it. Just wanted you to know. I smiled. I know. And I'm glad. Mom accepted the permanent position. But 2 days later, she came to my office during lunch, when most people were out. I need to tell you something, she said, standing in my doorway looking uncertain. I got another job offer. Better pay, better title. A friend's company needs an administrative manager. My stomach dropped. Oh. I'm going to take it, she continued. Not because I don't like it here. But because I need to do this on my own, separate from you. Does that make sense? It did. Completely. I'll write you a reference letter, I offered. You don't have to. I want to. You've earned it. I wrote that letter carefully, honestly. I described her work ethic, her reliability, her skill with systems and people. I signed it as Vice President of Operations, and I meant every word. Mom started her new job 3 weeks later. But something had shifted between us. We started meeting for coffee occasionally, awkward at first, then gradually easier. She asked about my work. She listened when I talked about challenges. She didn't offer advice unless I asked for it. She stopped comparing me to Tyler, who was slowly rebuilding his life after the investigation concluded with fines and probation. We weren't healed. We weren't fixed. But we were trying, and that was something. Then Marcus called me into his office with news that changed everything again. The board wants to expand into the Western region. They're creating a regional vice president position. You're the unanimous choice. 6 months after that promotion, I hosted a quiet dinner at my new house, a small but elegant place I'd bought with my VP salary, decorated exactly how I wanted it. Mom arrived early, carrying a bottle of wine and looking nervous in a way that reminded me of her first day at Apex. Dad came with her, quieter than usual, but present. Tyler and Amanda came too, late and awkward, but they came. We sat around my dining table, the one I'd picked out myself, the one that wasn't filled with judgment and comparison. Mom's eyes drifted around my home, taking in the framed certificates on the walls, the professional photos, the evidence of a life I'd built without her approval. Her gaze landed on my desk in the corner, where a business card holder sat prominently. She stood and walked closer, picking up one of the cards. She stared at it for a long moment, running her thumb over the embossed logo, Apex Strategic Solutions. Below that, my name, Emily Turner, Regional Vice President. When she looked up, tears streamed down her face. I was so wrong, she whispered. I called you a burden. I walked over to her, taking the card from her hand. I know. But you weren't. You were never. She couldn't finish. I looked at that business card. The same one I'd carried in my purse at that terrible family dinner.